as you mentioned, this is based on this active long interest, which is aggregating up investors on the basis of how they invest and saying, okay, if these are active long investors, they might be hedge funds, they might be active mutual fund, they might be any like other types of active investors. And we're saying, okay, if they're active investors on the long side, they're doing something kind of similar, or we can extract similar information from what we're getting on the short side because they're doing something for purpose. And so we could say, okay, let's look like in its own right, just tracking that active long interest is important. But where we've really seen something powerful is combining the two together and saying, okay, let's look at where they're roughly equal. Because what that means is if something happens, there's someone on both sides who might have a large reaction. Right. And that's what we're looking for is a pressure point.
And so what do we find?
So what we found looking at the large cap stocks over the last year was, as we would expect, they're very volatile. And so if we look at the chart, you can see that they reach in mid-October, they reach a high of about 45% up from the start of 2025. Yep. And then just over a month later, they're down to 6%, right?
So what happened there?
So it was a real outflow of liquidity from the more speculative parts of the market. You had some of the highly shorted stocks, similar pattern. They go, the prices blow out, big squeezes. You had a lot of the quantum names, a lot of the AI stocks. Basically, all the frothy parts of the equity market were all bubbling at that time. And in these battleground stocks, that was particularly acute.
And so what happened?
So they all went up a bunch.
That's right.
And then they all went back down.
But what I meant is that what is being defined as a battleground stock now has a whole new set of cohorts.
Yes. And so we're able to outline this group of stocks, isolate them, and then show the two different pieces independently, but also show them together to say, okay, as we kind of think about it from almost like a net positioning perspective, are we getting more net long or short on the perspective of the investors who are taking active positions?
So this is really, it's really a way of measuring stocks that are subject to momentum.
Yes, that are subject to headline risk, who are subject to action, right? These stocks are in play.
Yeah.
And to that point, in this report that we published on the large cap battlegrounds last Friday, the top stock on the list, and these are ranked by the long short ratio. So it's a battleground stock.
Well, hold on a second. Sorry. Long short ratio. Talk to me about that.
So this is the actual combination of the two different fields that we were talking about. So we have active long interest and we have short interest.
Right.
We're saying take active long interest as the numerator, take short interest as the denominator. You have the ratio. And then when we're talking about battleground stocks and we're saying it's close to equal, literally what we're saying is that the ratio is 0.65 to 1.35. So they're pretty close to 1-to-1, but not exactly.
So let's go through the list. What on this list shouts out, hey, this is interesting because, and then fill in the blank?
Yeah, so as we're looking at a list of the large U.S. large cap battleground stocks, there's a few that are interesting. Stocks like MicroStrategy, like Rivian, that are in the press a lot, or Moderna. But a really interesting one over this last week, and we published a note on these large cap battleground stocks on Friday, and United Microelectronics, as a foundry, had its stock was up just over 20% in the 4 days since we published this.
So do you think someone was reading that?
Certainly possible. I mean, I think they're reading the data.
I think so.
I think more, is important, is having access to that data and being able to see that and say, okay, we're seeing a situation that we can isolate the positioning on both sides of the market and say, okay, this is in play.